Okay, since there's a couple of new people here, I'm gonna start with some introductions. I am Gabrielle Portello, chairperson of the Rectory Subcommittee. We have a guest, well, we have a couple of new members, Carolyn Wass. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you, your interest. And I see Dylan. We appreciate you coming too. So Dylan, can you explain your role with the town?
Yeah, I'm the assistant town planner. I'm in the planning department.
Excellent. So that will be a good thing helping moving forward. And we have a guest here, Scott Richardson from GRLA, who is the architecture firm that we're working with. He has brought us some preliminary schematics. I apologize, I did not get a chance. I might be able to forward them in an email so that you guys can look along, because I don't have them on a computer to be able to share. So give me a moment. Go into Outlook, and I'm just going to forward the email that they sent to me, just to make it easier. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's so hard to do it on my phone. Okay, so I'm forwarding the original email. Apologize, it's harder on my phone. Forward. And who do you have on? I'm just gonna send it to Elena and Dylan, just because it'll be there. All right, so that should come through to you guys in a minute so that you guys can look along when Scott will go over the schematics.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then for other people, we have Lee Martin, also on our subcommittee, and everyone knows Andrew. And James is our
Secretary,
note taker, whatever you want to call it. So, all right. So, as everybody knows, we've met, Andrew and James met with Scott and Rebecca, who is his project manager. She was not able to attend tonight, but and they have, they kind of did a whole walkthrough for the library. Rebecca also had a phone conversation with Tara, the children's librarian, so that she could get her take on her needs and wants. And they have come up with their first round of preliminary, as well as the Emmy. Oh, I don't think we forwarded. Did everybody get this one, or did you send it to me and James?
You just sent me copies, so.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
no, I think, Andrew, I think you sent that out to everyone.
Yeah. So they also gave us the engineering part of it, of the MEP condition assessment report. So we'll go through all that. I'm going to turn it over to Scott and let him go ahead and tell us what they came up with.
Sure. Well, I'm sorry, I have two copies.
That's okay.
So, but here. And sorry, I have my back to you. Hopefully you received drawings and can follow along. So we basically, as we finalized the inventory and created the existing conditions drawings, and then started to develop the schemes that we're looking at. The big challenge is the connection coming from the library into the space.
Correct.
As we know, we do have that porch connector, but it overlaps the existing library by only about 7 feet or so.
Mhm.
And we know that it's a different elevation and so on. So to basically kind of come through that existing door and then try to maneuver a ramp as well as stairs in that space, we basically would be looking at a ramp that comes into, I think we have about a 23-inch delta. So we need a 23-foot ramp versus a lift, which is expensive. So instead of ending up interrupting and coming into the space here, plus we end up impacting having headroom and so on, we felt that it would benefit us to provide an addition, infilling that space between the two buildings, coming out to the front of where the buildings are, and infilling that space essentially just on this level for the first floor. We're not excavating down, we're basically providing an area where, just infilling the space between the two buildings. What that does for us is we're able then to get our 23-foot ramp or so, maybe it's 19 feet, I don't know, within that alcove, if you will. So then we come into the same level as we have in the existing house. We're basically saying we're gutting this whole first floor. And we're creating new structure to support the upstairs. And so scheme one basically just focuses on the main floor, providing a fairly large community space, multi-purpose space. It's almost 500 square feet. So you could fit quite a few different activities in there, whether it's set up with tables, whether it's set up with rows of chairs for a presentation, might have a drop-down screen, the usual things. Then we're basically deciding to keep the kitchenette in the same location. Obviously, we would upgrade it, but since we have existing plumbing there, we have a little kitchenette, throw a bathroom, a handicap bathroom right opposite that. And then we continue into the garage. So what we're saying is, again, we're tearing down the wall between the little skinny hallway that you have and the garage. Those of you who have maneuvered furniture in around there know what I'm talking about. And then basically frame a floor on top of the concrete floor that's there. So we have basically, we come in and have same floor space, which obviously will elevate it from the garage, from the road, the driveway. But we basically were looking at the fact that we would just maintain our front door, and our second means of egress would be through the existing building. If we have to put a door in here, we can always do that. So the other issue we have is the upper floor we are envisioning is essentially for office staff, for library staff only. So it's not open to the public. We're not providing a lift, but we need to rebuild the stairs because the stairs are very narrow, steep risers, inadequate treads. So we believe in this scheme, we're keeping kind of the stairs to the basement because we're proposing the basement is just storage still in this scheme. We rebuild our stairs, we go upstairs, and we have, again, just office space, storage space, whatever you want to have up there. We could incorporate another restroom up there if budget allows, but essentially we have, again, this could be a closed room for storage, or it could be all open desk space, office space, etc. But then we do build a new stair that will be more code compliant. In that this is only staff only and limited occupancy, we only need one stair.
Okay.
So the main construction, well, again, we're rebuilding the whole thing, essentially, leaving the basement. And again, we are building this addition right here in between the two buildings.
Okay.
And then in this scheme, again, the basement is just still maintained as storage. We still have the bulkhead. We would just be pouring a slab above this area here. Utility area still stays potentially the same. We know we have potential utility upgrades, perhaps, but that's, again, to be further developed.
Okay.
So that's scheme one. Scheme two starts to talk about updating the basement. So that, and as we talked about, we know the grade drops off to the south, that's not the south, it's
East to the east.
but basically duplicating your entrance into this, we would then excavate out, have entrance into the lower level. Obviously, whether we have retaining walls or whatever, that's to be determined.
Okay.
But basically having access to this lower level from the back parking area and so on, so that this now becomes a community space. We have minimal headroom there. I think it's like 7'1" or 2. So we just squeak through. We're supposed to have 7 feet.
You can duck.
Sure. We're supposed to have 7 feet headroom, so we'll have to figure that out. But Then a couple alternatives, a couple alternates. In this, we are providing a lift, anticipating that if we are using this space, in addition to the first floor, we need to have accessibility between the two floors. I mean, you could argue that, okay, well, if you're here and you want to, well, we need to do that. And basically in a lift situation, limited use, limited access, they're, $35,000 versus a full-blown elevator. So is it a cost? Yes. Is it something that could be planned for and installed later? Yes. But I think, again, if we're trying to make maximum use of this basement space as well as the first floor, it should be part of it. And again, we are proposing a handicap restroom down here and maybe a kitchenette area, as she was talking to Tara and so on. There might be, this is more of the kids' space. There's food, food prep and
Yep.
things that they do. So this would be, and actually, I could have gotten Rebecca on the phone, but anyway,
That's okay.
she knows more about all the program stuff than I do. So we're thinking, we have a small kitchenette down there.
Sorry, I just saw
Yeah.
that, 590. Just
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. With scheme 2 for the basement, what changes does that bring into first floor access or initial design that you have on scheme 1?
Pretty much it stays about the same. On this level, we're just, the reconfiguration is the stairs reconfigure, because then we're rebuilding the stairs to meet code.
Sure.
So we have a switchback stair that goes down to the lower level and then obviously up to the upper level. The lift is here. This community space is about the same as it was, square footage wise. We still have the kitchenette in the same place, and this program space is the same. Excuse me, so it's really just kind of the stair switches, the lift is there, and again, this same configuration coming from the library to the ramp.
Gotcha.
And then upstairs, again, same offices, storage, meeting space.
You
But,
wouldn't be able to bring the lift up to the top.
well, you could,
But if you decide that we're usually the top floor just for staff.
But this doesn't mean to say at some point that you don't have staff.
correct.
Very true.
You could accommodate, that would be more of an ADA accommodation than an access board accommodation. Again, the nice thing about lifts is they used to be limited to 12 feet, but now I think they're close to 30 feet in the code, so you can actually have this service all three levels. Obviously, it would, take up space on this floor. The override part might be an issue. We'd have to alter the front elevation because of the headroom for the elevator and the overhead above it. We have a full shed dormer in the back, but in the front, we just have the two A dormers, so we have limited headroom.
Oh, sure.
So, so that would be a factor. That would also obviously increase the cost of the lift. So those are the two schemes. Again, we just have this concept floor plans right now, no other exterior, interior renderings or anything. And again, we do have the MEP report. It's just not, reporting on the existing systems. The next phase is what do we want to do to take bits and pieces of whatever scheme, move forward with a more of a presentation, and then develop the additional drawings, the site plan, elevations, and so on. And what are the recommendations for the systems, and then ultimately coming up with a cost system. So that's.
Sorry if I missed this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was trying to forward the email so they would have it, but is this what we know today as the existing garage
Correct.
area? Okay.
Yep. Right. And again. we've
Is it the
got-
same size as the existing garage?
So, well, again, that was a commentary I had earlier.
Okay,
We
yeah, I
had that
apologize.
little hallway, and then we had a little hallway here, so we're tearing that out and then elevating this to be
Okay.
the same level. So it's actually, 300 plus square feet of space. Have we got into really analyzing the condition of framing and walls and things like that? Not yet, but that would be a function of, hey, we want to move forward with this scheme or combination of the
Yeah.
two or something else, and then we get into the next
More
level of
detail.
detail.
So Andrew, do you know currently, so since the upstairs area is typically where she holds most of her
Right.
children's
That's the
programming,
question, is what's the
do
square?
you know what
footage
the
up
square
there?
footage is up there?
Well, let's see, because it doesn't exactly mirror this downstairs
The
here.
part that's. might be-
Yeah.
And upstairs, would you, I mean, I don't have a,
It'd probably be comparable to this
About-
area. We can
around 500.
confirm that.
yeah,
We
I
can
think.
confirm
it'd be-
that.
Yeah, that probably
Yep.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious, I'm just
Yeah,
curious,
yeah,
because
no, I-
90%
I
of her
didn't know.
programming
Yeah,
takes
it's
place,
It's true.
children's and adult, to be honest, but,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, like if we could have that much space, if not more, it's upstairs there, we probably need it at this point.
Right.
Based on the programs that are.
Right. But just the fact that there's potential storage, potential, you know, in multiple places, potential storage here, that if it is her program space, that, you know, she can, you know, bring her stuff and all her stuff's right there. She's not
Right.
lugging it from the basement
Right.
here like she does now upstairs.
Right.
Right.
So the second set of schematics has two kitchenettes. Is there a reason for the two?
So,
I'm just curious.
so actually scheme one has the kitchen, I'm sorry, you're right. Yes, that was envisioned, depending on what you, and again, it could be just a very simple countertop sink and a coffee maker. You know, if you have a
Sure.
function down here.
Sure, so just for functions
Yeah.
specifically.
The question is whether, again, there's more program space that ties in with what
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
what you're teaching.
Right.
But again, that could be accommodated on the first one.
Right.
In this, you know, in this
Sure.
area, but this is a little tighter. This potentially has more, you know, there could be a couple activities going on in this. kitchen.
Right.
So,
And the upstairs kitchenette would be for, oh no, I was gonna say, never mind, because you have your
Well,
little,
program, I mean, if you
Yeah.
do programs up there, it could serve
Yeah.
whatever
I
program
keep,
goes.
like, I have to remember that this library is not going away, so like, we don't need another,
And it's a good reminder that a kitchenette is not a kitchen.
Kitchen.
It's not a kitchen.
It's a sink, it's a couple simple things. It's not
Yeah.
designed, we're not coming forward to say we're serving food. We're not going to the health inspector and saying, this is now,
Catering services.
no, exactly, this is.
right, we're
designed
not
for
gonna have a
small-
stove, no.
Small functional, like
Right.
microwave coffee pot,
Right.
simple type
Right.
of idea. Yeah.
Right.
One thing that, oh, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, first, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
I know this is what you do every day, and it's what your business does, but we appreciate it for me personally twofold. One, you've listened to what the things that we brought forward at the beginning, and you've already brought that into the ideas that you have here. That's awesome. And two, you want to help see this get to somewhere that's truly useful. So it means a lot, and I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Definitely.
At one point, I think when we were first going through the building and Rebecca was there, she talked about opening up, getting rid of the second floor, and opening up and
Lofting
vaulting
the
it.
ceilings, yeah.
Was there an issue? I'm assuming there was an issue with that.
So we talked about that
Yeah.
internally, and we felt that what you're gonna gain in kind of the openness of it
The look, yeah.
versus the structural gymnastics to do that, and the loss of potential storage and office space on the second floor. I mean, we can look at that as an
Yeah.
option.
No, I mean, I was just curious
Yeah.
because, I mean, clearly we need outside of programming space, storage space. Those are the
Yeah.
two major
Right.
things
Yeah.
that we're looking for. So,
So that's
I mean-
kind of what we.
But
have
is,
more.
is the third floor, what's more important, third floor storage?
right,
And is it feasible to store stuff upstairs and then have to carry it downstairs,
right.
or vice versa? As well as, Carolyn made a good point.
Yeah.
You could have staff that needs handicapped access, so that's another thing we have to
Consider.
consider, because, you know, we have to,
Yeah. That's true.
So it just seemed that, And actually, I think we ran into this in another project. It's like, well, we could take out the whole second floor. This is an old library, senior center in Boxford, and that would be all open. And it's like, well, but then, you're giving up whatever.
Yeah, you're giving up a lot of
Square
space.
feet of storage.
Right, so
space.
that's the, yeah,
So-
and it's definitely
Yeah.
needed. I mean,
Yeah.
we used to store things underneath back there and then we got yelled at.
Nope.
We got yelled at.
I do have one question. Coming out of this meeting, are you looking for a course of action for next steps? Or is this more information?
Yeah, well, again, I assume that typically clients take, a week or two to kind of digest it and maybe other people to share things with or get some feedback. So we'd be looking for ultimately, yes, feedback on, hey, we like parts of scheme 1, parts of scheme 2, or have you ever thought about this? And then based on that, we come up with the next iteration of the plan, providing more detail on what it looks like. Exterior wise, how things, then with the information on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing system, start to say, we anticipate we're probably using heat pumps for this whole facility. How does that work and what does that look like? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I noticed somewhere, in here about this, the sprinklers, and so where does a design like this, so obviously this is necessary to make this kind of one space. Does that put us into the area that we have to then do a sprinkler system throughout the entire building?
I don't have an
Here as
answer,
well.
I don't have an answer for that yet, but you're on well here, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So, even if we are over the 7,500 square foot threshold, typically if you're on a well system, we have potentially some relief from having to do that.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
Well,
Okay.
it's interesting, yes, but it's also a discussion and negotiation with the building department and the fire department to say, here's what are the limiting factors of putting a sprinkler system in. Number one, you usually just don't have, you'd have to then put in a 20,000 gallon storage tank.
Yeah.
Because, there's no, and then a pressure and all that,
Yeah.
and a booster and all that. So, you have a little more, room to negotiate that. So I think the existing building is a little over 6,200 square feet. Are we at it, is this probably 1,300 square feet? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we are probably over the threshold. But we have potentially some, compliance alternatives we can look at as far as maybe fire separation, maybe again, the doors between the two spaces, are on hold opens and close if there's an emergency. Do we do some sort of limited fire protection? And that gets it tricky. Anyway, something to be addressed in the next phase of data gathering and recommendation.
Of course, yeah.
I know we've been doing a lot of the talking, but Dylan, any questions on your side or anything you wanted to bring up?
Not yet. Definitely just getting an idea of what you have so far and hope I can help along the way.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
And I'll offer the same to Elena. I know you're not shy to speak up.
Oops.
On the move.
I'm on the move, so I've been listening, but yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, cool, thank you.
She's bugging.
I'll stop bugging you.
Heading to the train station.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I am blown away at the amount of work. I didn't expect to even get this detailed at this stage, so I appreciate this very much.
We definitely do have some digesting.
Yeah.
And we, as we talked about during our last meeting,
Yeah.
making sure that everyone in the staff has an opportunity to take a
Yes.
good look on this.
Yeah, no, I want to pass this by them this next week.
Yep.
Yep.
And then even starting some of those discussions in, within other parts of the town.
Yeah,
To have Jeremy take a look at this, to
Right.
some other folks take a cut
Right,
Make
and,
sure we get
and,
it
and Carolyn kind of is recent, new to our,
Mhm.
group. She kind of comes and brings the senior perspective.
Sure.
They were just trying to,
I thought,
yeah, well, they were just trying to get a new senior center
Sure.
passed, which is,
okay.
well, very much needed in this town.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it did not pass, the last go around, so we're trying to come up with a community space. Theirs was going to be more of a community center than
Yeah.
what this will allow from the space as well as the lack of parking. Maybe eventually we can open up the front with a grassy area as it adds some more parking, but even then it's not a huge amount of spaces. So we appreciate Carolyn coming to give kind of her perspective as
That's
well.
why I was asking about the size, because I am aware, I think we have a 56 capacity at the senior centre at the moment.
Sure.
Okay,
So that was,
For seating,
yes.
56.
Um,
So you-
but now-
that's what you need
but
more.
we've got like 18 parking spots, so.
Yeah.
yeah. Just, yeah.
Okay.
What is the capacity, like when you say it's 590 square
Yeah.
feet, what capacity
I
is
mean,
allowed? in that?
So you typically are looking at somewhere like 15 square feet per person if you just have chairs.
Okay,
It can be tighter than that, so.
if you cleared it out entirely, I'm just thinking.
Cleared out
Right.
rows of chairs.
Or it's just, well, in the case of her program,
Children's
oftentimes
program,
it's just sort of.
They're sitting on the floor, right?
Yeah,
So,
if you could fit 24 to 30 very comfortably, you can fit 40,
okay.
kids, 50.
What's upstairs?
My brain's been running through that.
Yeah.
It's very
And
close.
we have the drawings.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
we can give you that square footage.
Right.
and let you know.
Right.
Yep.
So and part of the thinking of doing this was, yes, if we could have a bigger programming area would be fantastic, but it was more about the noise level. Am I right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
To kind of keep the noise level to that side of the library
Right.
so that
Sure.
other patrons can come and use the library for what it
Yep.
was supposed to be for.
Yeah.
This is a very unusual library
Yeah.
where we're not like, and we're, it's rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare,
Yeah.
but we have when we came into this
Yeah.
building, well,
Yeah,
I guess it's pretty vibrant in this old building too, but
Yeah.
more so in this building. I remember in the old building when you went upstairs, if you brought your kids with you, you were like, now, or Pat Bullock is coming after you.
Yeah, there's a bit of a different vibe to that.
It definitely had a different vibe. So we kind of welcome everybody. We're loud.
Right.
Sound clearly carries. And when she has children's programming, she
Yeah.
has 30 kids sometimes more. So,
Yeah, nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open the door, it's like, oh.
oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. So, yeah, but again, it wasn't so much, sure, a bigger space is awesome, but if we can keep it separate, that's awesome too,
Yeah.
so. And I like the idea of having the community space in the basement as well as on the
Actually,
second level, and if bigger programs can be downstairs and
Sure.
smaller programs can be
well,
upstairs.
this is what it's interesting you should say that, because I looked at the scheme too, and very much like the sort of great entryway into the
Yep.
community space down here, 590 square feet, which is probably akin to what's upstairs, if
Yeah,
maybe a little
probably.
bit more even.
Yeah.
So I definitely like the idea of using this basement space effectively.
Yeah, I do too.
Mhm.
I think it would be a shame to not utilize that huge space, you know?
Right.
I'll duck, it's fine.
I don't have to worry about that.
We really don't want to have just a building falling apart next to us.
Right.
Right, that's,
The town has been, actually, even since we've last met, the town's already taking additional strides on how do we plan that long-term perspective, look at what assets we have and how do we take care of those assets and kind of move down a smart road there. But that's not a quick process, as you know.
Yep.
So this is a great way to, in my opinion, a great way to say, this is a good step towards that. This is using resources we already
Right.
So one thing on the electrical, I think there's only 100 amp service, I think, to the existing building. Yes. So, so from the standpoint of running, say, heat pumps, lighting and so on, we might be close. To actually put in a lift, we would have to find out if we could run that service from this building. Because you probably have 3-phase service, you have an elevator, so. On the other hand, too, what is the, what is the extra capacity here? Do we just run another panel over from what you have here? We could do, additional, so that's that is somewhat of an issue. But nothing that's insurmountable.
I do have another question on scheme 2 on the first floor. You have an office meeting room.
Yeah.
Can you, so you can accommodate like a table in there? How many people?
It's
sit
pretty
in there?
tiny. It would be,
Okay. Just curious.
well, for the most part, it would be a 1-person office.
Okay.
But then in libraries, this would be a 2-person office.
Right.
Right, because they're extra friendly people.
That's right.
Yes.
We were just up in the Stone Library today. So, and again, or it could be storage.
Right.
Make sure you go
Again,
on with your name.
there could be, depending on what furniture is in here
Sure,
and so
sure.
on, you might say, hey, the tables have to go somewhere, so this might become table storage if you just do chairs here. So
Right.
Yeah, because I mean,
that's always an issue where you.
we have, you have the office space
Yeah.
over here, you have the workroom
Yeah.
over here, that's where the books are.
Yeah.
The
I was
books are
thinking,
getting
yeah,
here.
I was
for now.
thinking in terms of like staff meetings right now. Currently, they're open, right? They're open
Yeah.
here, they're open upstairs. Could we do a staff meeting there? And then I'm thinking to myself, well, perhaps we could just use the program space for a staff meeting.
Right, yeah,
Sure.
and again, we
Right.
could put some doors on here,
So that's a decent
Yep.
workaround. And I've been thinking to your point about that second floor. Rather than having to put a lift in, is there a way we use that second floor in a way that doesn't require, this is gonna sound goofy, but like, doesn't require us putting a lift in because it's essential that the staff meet upstairs or something, you know what I mean? I don't know if that
So-
is making any sense.
It does.
Yeah,
Always, and this is the term, loopholes.
right,
Good and bad, there's always kind of ways around stuff.
right,
However we define the space, like if say we choose to have it be storage. Even if we say that, that means it still needs to be accessible for folks to get to it and move things up and down.
right.
So that still falls under an accessibility
Right.
question.
Right.
So ADA still kicks in on that type.
Right.
And I think that was actually one of the other lines of thought when it came back to the lofting was, yes, we lose space, but we didn't want to have to put in a full elevator because we recognized the challenge that comes along with a
Right.
full elevator. I was not aware that lifts now can do 30 feet.
Mhm.
That's nuts.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So that's far better an option than I had even realized.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because it's definitely a limited use, I mean, how often would it be used, but
Right.
it's there.
Yep.
So,
What's the?
Are you of the mind of moving the lift all the way up to the top then?
That's where my
Yeah.
brain's, like, if we're building out that to be workspace or usable space,
I think it's almost,
I think we have to.
yeah,
It's
And
just,
certainly if it's in storage space, the idea of popping something onto a lift.
right.
What's the weight capacity on a lift?
on one second.
Sorry.
ahead. No, it's good.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to chime in on that. As someone with an invisible physical disability, I really appreciate talking about the lift. I think it's important for staff as well as people who are visiting the library.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And you can also have people with a temporary disability.
exactly.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, somebody could bring you doors, you
Yep.
know, to break a leg.
Yeah,
That's a good question. I don't know
weight
what the
capacity, I don't
capacity
know.
is. We just installed one at the Boston Athletic Association.
Books are
So.
Sorry, heavy. That's true.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Dense heads.
Yeah, just curious, I mean, maybe they have different, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how big is it? I can't
It's,
visualize what it.
Let's see, they're roughly, it's like 4x6
Is it
Okay.
like the one at the
That-
town?
or
hall?
about-
Is that
or 4x5.5. It's not the size of your
That's a good
elevator.
question.
So-
Is the one at the town hall, is the one at
Yes.
the town hall a lift or an elevator?
It's old. I don't know. It is very old. So I
I don't
think
think
it's a full, it's an elevator, but I think it's like a, it's got a whole room with, you know, machinery and everything in it. I'm not exactly sure. It's not all like self-contained like a lift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question.
We've never done it.
Oh, I'm sorry, go on.
I'm good. If you've got the lift, do you need the ramp?
Yeah, because,
Because it's the access from here. It's
yeah,
different
because
weight, isn't it?
yeah, we have a 19 inch or whatever still.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for after hours, I mean, obviously, the idea would be, you know, if somebody did want to use this after hours, they could do that in the downstairs,
Yeah.
clearly.
Mhm.
And you could do it just through the front door here,
Yeah.
but to keep them, to keep them from getting into the rest of the library.
Right.
Those darn riffraff.
Yeah, like, what would be the solution there? I mean, I would assume there's some sort of,
Well, we could
Just
have
pull a gate
have a
or-
door that is on, I don't know, do you have key fobs here or just keys?
keys on.
Yeah.
We're working it.
Yeah.
I'm all over on that with Jared.
Yeah, okay.
We're working
I
on
mean,
it.
for the most part, like you said, you could just have a gate or something.
Sure.
because it's just, you know.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So really,
We
the
tried
ability to
do
get
though, and it's, we go
after
upstairs
hours,
anyways, and they
key
come
sort
downstairs.
of entrance for both the first floor and for the basement.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Looking again.
Lee is also on the Friends of the Library. From a friend's point of view, if this now becomes part of our building and not really a garage anymore, we have to think about storage for book sale. We have to think about, we can still set up the book sale as book sale.
You know,
General French storage, but there's storage that we can give to the friends, keep it separate and be like, this is where the friends will keep their stuff.
There's gonna have to be a reconfiguration if Tara's programs are over there, maybe some of her stuff moves over there and that frees up space
True.
here.
true.
So I think there may be some flexibility and some fluidity in terms of where stuff is housed. And, you know, we as the friends are very flexible, so. We will roll with it.
Yeah,
But we want to make sure we capture that, because
Yes.
that's an essential part of how we get everything done here.
right.
That's important.
And, we're, the last several years, we've been able to just open the garage door and pull
Right.
everything out and then our book sale set up, you know what I mean? So, we kind of will lose that. But it doesn't mean that we can't still do an outside book sale, because that's,
Right.
We can wheel it right out the basement floor.
yeah,
It's true.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like we used to wheel it from here all the way around the building,
Sure.
so
Sure.
we can do it there, yeah.
Cool.
Just something that we need to think about, because that's where,
Yeah, we'd have to figure out where the easiest exit point is for
Right.
their book sale item, well, any friends related storage that they want to get access to.
right,
Because you're right now, it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
Open it up, pull it out.
right.
Okay.
From a design and engineering perspective, what are the questions we're not asking that you would normally
Yeah, that's a
hear?
good
Yeah.
point.
I think as we kind of get to the next level of iteration relative, again, if we are looking at access from the rear to the basement, what is involved there? How does that impact the site? How does that impact access? Again, the whole issue of utilities, again, you're on septic here as well, right?
Yes.
So is this going to impact that at all? It's really same occupancy, essentially, we're just spreading it out over more square footage. So I'm not really answering your question, but nothing, it's really kind of the next phase starts to talk about the infrastructure and utilities and things like that. So
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
I don't know if this got mentioned when they met with you the first time around, but, so in May, the beginning of May, we are having our existing driveway completely redone.
Okay.
We all knew this was happening, but at the same time, we don't have the funding for this project yet, only the feasibility study, so we had to move forward. We were able to find the money, the town was able to find the money to fund it. So we're doing it because it's a necessary thing, the driveway's a mess. Assuming that we're able to move forward with this and everybody gets approved and everybody's good, like, how will that impact? How, like, a lot of this is reconstruction, we're not like digging things up and, but it's still gonna, some things if we have to do, if we have to tie stuff into the septic from over there, and, there's definitely digging involved. I don't know. Just something to think about, right? Like, is it gonna be, and it could be 3 years down the road. It could, you know what I mean? It could be,
True. And,
I just wondering how invasive.
yeah, like
that would be.
and that will be.
I mean, we're spending
Yeah.
$60,000 or whatever it is on a brand new driveway,
Sure.
more, right? That
Sure.
it's from the town perspective and even town, voters, it's, even though they had the money, it still comes out of everything.
Surely that goes into the septic, the pipe's already there, surely.
Yeah, everything's connected. I think what.
You're right.
Gabrielle's
Good
getting
point,
to-
because it was a
Yeah.
house before, okay.
But I'm assuming that the water use here is pretty low. I mean,
Yes.
people aren't.
Yeah, no,
Oh, but you're concerned
No.
about those like. dig.
No, I just mean physically, like, if you, we're gonna have to
Just
dig out
drop
the existing driveway to,
Well, I mean, if you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
want to get geeky on the engineering side, we can do directional drilling, so we can put pipes under driveways. We just did it at my house for our fiber. So like, there are a lot of options that exist out there to not disturb something if you want to. But I think, my guess is as we dig deeper into this after a plan stage,
Yeah.
we're gonna be able to identify where those existing lines already are, tie into what we can,
that
replace
already
what we need to.
exists, right, okay.
It's, if we're digging out the back of the, to make a flush entry like
You're
this,
gonna have to
we're gonna
anyways,
have some.
right,
So that there is gonna be some challenge.
And assuming that you may well be trying to expand parking lot at the back as well.
Well,
so ideal, of course, our
Love
wish,
to.
yeah, well,
I mean, we are gaining, like, with the asphalting, we are gaining 6 spots back there because they're gonna line 6 additional spots.
Right.
So.
So you basically, it doesn't exit out behind the building, does it? Or does
it,
Yeah,
it,
there's all the
And
way-
that's, they're gonna repave all of that.
Yeah, all the way through paved.
Okay.
All the way to the, garage level.
Oh, okay.
It's currently the garage. Yeah, and then out access.
I mean, I don't know, it's way too early in the stage to even think about that, but, I mean, obviously, I thought about it,
But I
so.
mean, you want
Yeah.
there to have been,
Yeah.
it's responsible and responsible.
Right.
And you don't want to.
Money that the town is spending
Yeah,
to
dig
redo
up.
our driveway.
We are also, we're now at a safety point with our driveway because we have a hole in the front of it.
Yes,
So like.
we have to have it has to be fixed,
Right.
we can't wait. I agree.
Well, we'll take that into consideration relative to any thoughts we have. Does the repaving in May have any impact on what we're proposing?
Yeah.
And things to be thinking.
Sure, and honestly, that's a great thing to add in from a feasibility perspective, saying, because of this, plan to have an extra 20 grand for, redoing this paving section or something, at least
Yeah, so
This
that's
is
part of the
spitball.
proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that
part of
forces us to say, yeah, we gotta remember.
and when we do have to present, when we are at the point that we're presenting it to the town, we can say, we thought of this.
Mhm.
We know we just spent this money on the
Right.
driveway, but we also thought it through, and this is our plan to.
And we're still on number plan, I'm just kidding.
If we were, sort of more interested in scheme 1, I'm not saying we are. I have my thoughts at this point in time. No, however, if you wanted to put a lift into scheme 1, could that happen, and where would you do it?
I think if we're going to do a lift, the layout for scheme 2 is what works.
Makes more-
Yeah.
okay. I just didn't know if there was a
Yeah.
way to,
Yeah.
add it into scheme 1 and suddenly it's an option.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because back to your point about the staff meetings and stuff, potentially if you had this upstairs space too, that's another space. But I mean, at that time of day, when you have your staff meetings, the library's fairly empty anyways. I mean, there's people here, but,
Most of the time we're doing it after hours, or
right, but they, the, you know,
or in the morning. whatnot.
so much to think about.
Yeah.
It is, this is good because this
Yeah.
gives us that, the ability to digest it. The rest of the other folks who want to really take a good cut on it.
Yeah.
And then to compile all that and bring that back to you to make sure that we're not coming in with multiple voices. We're coming in with here's the course of action that the subcommittee of these.
Right.
And the community wants to move on. So this is perfect.
So with 2, you lose, I see you lose some of the community space because the stairs goes into it.
Correct.
You don't get bigger office space or anything.
No, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, there may be another iteration of this that, comes out of
Yeah.
what we're doing, but.
And if you, I don't know, Karen, the last time you were in that building, have you,
I've never been in.
the stairs are like.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Hey, good
narrow.
old New England.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Don't ask me how Bob Mahoney used to climb up them, because
Oh, I was
He did, God
thinking
rest
of
his
getting
soul.
up in that Harry Potter ones that swung round.
Yeah. Well, so as of right now, I think the next steps are, Andrew, you take this to your staff.
Yep.
Let them, you can bring the big copies if you want, and let them kind of take a look at it and sit with it and, give their feedback.
Yeah.
Tentatively, our next, meeting is scheduled for, what did we just say, the
It'd be
15th?
15th of May.
It would be the 15th of May. Elaine, I don't know if you heard that in the beginning, but we forgot to set our next meeting for the trustees before we adjourned. So we're thinking the 15th of May, so it's not the same week as the town meeting and it's not the same week of the paving.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Excuse me.
So that would probably be the next step, and then based on us discussing that, then we give Scott and Rebecca feedback from there.
Is that too late?
I know that kind of puts a hold on the
Feedback.
timeline, you know what I mean, like, right,
Yeah.
Sooner the
Oh, you're
better.
saying we have the next iteration?
no,
Design?
no,
Okay.
no.
So we'll have feedback from you by the 15th or right after that, you're saying?
Oh, at the latest.
Okay.
At the latest,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we may be able to do some fun finagling internal within the group to get things passed around, so we could come and say, hey, this has been very clear by everyone that this is the path forward, so.
Yeah, that's true. We don't necessarily have to wait till the next meeting to, yeah, it's not like with the trustees that we have to vote on it at this point, you know what I mean? So, okay.
Once again, I'm looking at these.
Okay.
On scheme 1, on the basement floor, I'm assuming you can do the same thing where it's just like, rather than the stairs, just do a walkout.
Yes, of course. Yeah. If basically the concept is, if we're doing this, we really want to have that walkout from the basement. So that's the scheme.
I'm thinking if that's storage, which is
Yeah.
what it's listed as.
Yeah.
And that was Fred's storage, that you
Yeah.
could actually walk it out easy.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, excellent. Yeah, thank you for taking my questions.
And just a couple of housekeeping things for the meeting minutes we did have from last month. I had 3 corrections on there that I have implemented already, so I can get you the revised ones out.
Okay.
And my name is misspelled.
My sincerest apologies.
That's quite all right.
Can you make sure you spell it so I've got it? correct?
CAROLYN.
Oh, well.
And then
Absolutely.
it's WIS.
Yep, perfect. Then a 4th correction will be coming. I will be sending that back to everyone with the correct correction.
Now, does that gets approved at the next?
Well, we can still approve it now. We can say
Yeah.
with the.
Yeah, they're just technical edits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just send me the edits and then I'll.
Yeah,
Perfect. I'll put a motion forward to approve with the technical edits that we just discussed.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Scott. I mean, this
All
is-
right,
this
well,
is-
yes, thank you very
like I
much,
said,
Scott, I appreciate it. Dylan, I appreciate your time. So as you heard, our next meeting will be the 15th of May
Great.
at 7. If you can join us remotely or in person, either way works. We always do it remote. It does usually start closer to 7 because the trustee meeting doesn't usually go that far. So we appreciate that. And
Sounds good.
Carolyn joining us as well. Lee, as always.
Right, so
So thank you.
Thank you,
just
Scott.
as you compile notes or questions or comments, just email them back to Rebecca.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
And then we'll get started with the next iteration and all the other stuff that we said we're gonna do, whatever.
Sure, yeah. And Dylan, as you kind of look at these any further, if you have other suggestions or comments, please share them
Sounds
with all of us.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
To Elena.
Yeah, I can forward them to you.
All right, are we good?
Thanks, Ryan.
All right.
Like Gay said, good, thank you so much. 'Cause I'm really.
Yeah, motion to
impressed.
adjourn. Motion to
I
adjourn.
second them. Can I second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, it's
Recording is-
parliamentarians. It's a good thing.
Great.